Good evening. Welcome to the 5-8, where we discuss each of the week's 5 most fucked up topics for 8 minutes. 5 topics. I don't know how we're going to limit it to 5 fucked up topics this week. 8 minutes, 2 hosts, a guest, some singing, a lot of curse words, and as many cocktails as we deem necessary. LB, how are you?
Good. Having my water. Having my water.
Yeah, enjoy it while it lasts.
Exactly. Clean water.
Right.
I know that it's clean. It's not
Mhm.
contaminated. It still has fluoride in it. Important things.
Mm-hmm.
How are you? I haven't
I'm
seen
okay.
you since we were together.
I know we were together not long ago. Not long ago.
ago.
This week on Monday morning. We, after the thing, it was good.
It was good.
We'll talk more about it later in the 5th topic. But thanks to everybody who came out to our live show in New York City on Sunday night, which was wonderful. And great guests, great vibe, great energy in the room.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that more towards the end.
It was wonderful.
It really was.
Yeah, it was really great.
So I don't know if you know, like Elon Musk, went to meet with the Iranians. Apparently to discuss the nuclear program.
Happening?
So just hear me out here, okay?
Okay.
Tesla, cars explode. SpaceX, burning wreckage. Twitter, completely blown up. Keep this man away from the nuclear weapons, for God's sake. What are we doing?
Maybe that's our nuclear proliferation strategy. He's just gonna, make them all fail somehow. I don't know. I can't even. Greg, I can't. I literally haven't watched one lick of it. You and some friends were all texting me these, all of the pics and all the news. I'm like, I'm not watching it. I'm not watching it. I'll get myself up to date Friday morning.
Yep.
Friday midday, which I did midday today. And then I went to bed. I took to the bed today. I was tired. After I did all my chores and I did a bunch of other things, but I was sound asleep literally half an hour ago in my power nap. So I'm going to try to reorient myself, get the timer on the clock. You tell me when we're ready.
I'm ready when you are. Let's dig in.
I do want to get to our guest.
Yeah, we don't want to keep our guest waiting.
We don't want to keep her waiting.
Not at all.
All right. 8 minutes on the clock.
So you said, you haven't really paid attention to the news this week. So, in preparing for the show, we make lists. We think about what we're maybe going to talk about. And I look over the websites of the newspapers. I don't know. Are they still called newspapers? Can we still
I don't know what they're called.
So I went to the Washington Post website. Okay. And I was struck by how batshit it is. So I copied just the headlines. Okay. This is today's Washington Post headlines on the front page of the Washington Post. This is the timeline that we're living in. I'm just going to read the headlines.
Okay.
RFK Jr. tapped for health czar, 10 false claims and conspiracy theories in his words. That's the first one. Pentagon nominee Pete Hegseth was investigated for alleged sexual assault.
Oh.
He's almost billed to something. It almost billed to something.
I missed that one. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So he's a domestic abuser or a sexual assaulter?
I know it's very difficult to believe.
He's a sexual assaulter, but domestic, like someone in his household?
It doesn't say domestic, just alleged sexual assault is all.
Okay.
I did not read the article. I just was like, okay. Gates' nomination brings new focus on underage sex allegations. Okay. This guy's going to be the attorney general, maybe.
Yeah.
President-elect.
This is what QAnon was looking for, right? This is it? We found him, and Trump made him, Donald Sr. made him attorney general.
Yeah. Was it Borowitz who made that joke? Like when they said they were looking to bring a pedophile to justice, this is not.
I'd miss that one.
I think that was Andy Borowitz, I believe.
Okay, good for Andy Borowitz.
President-elect, that would be Trump somehow, looks to bypass Senate to push through polarizing choices. Trump is already testing Republicans, and they seem unwilling to defy him. And then you scroll down, then you can go down to, a little bit, and it says, inside the Republican false flag effort to turn off Kamala Harris voters, 2 Republicans who lost Senate races refused to concede. Drought in the U.S. is so severe, only significant rainfall will help break the trend. Why wildfires in the eastern U.S. can be more destructive than you may think. I did not think they would be destructive. So, and then if you go down past the sports, here's the last 5. Okay. Judge puts off January 6th trial after defendant points to possible Trump pardon. Russia pushes forward in Ukraine amid talk of negotiations. Trump and the Israeli right resume their embrace. Bombings in Brazil's capital revive fears over fate of democracy. And just to loop it back to the beginning, surge in worldwide measles cases driven by lack of vaccine coverage. Who says? That's it. This sounds like it's from a movie that we're watching.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is like a dystopian timeline that we found ourselves in, but it's exactly what all of the experts were going like this. And the people who knew him, all the people who served in the last administration, they were going, alert, alert, alert. Now,
speaking of the people serving in the last administration, here's an article from Washington Post from November 14th by Isaac Stanley Becker and Ellen Nakashima. Headline: Go bags, passports, foreign assets, preparing to be a target of Trump's revenge. Okay, I'm going to read just the first couple of paragraphs here. A retired U.S. Army officer who clashed with senior officials in Donald Trump's first White House looked into acquiring Italian citizenship in the run-up to this month's election, but wasn't eligible and instead packed a go bag with cash and a list of emergency numbers in case he needs to flee. A number of Trump's first administration, a member who publicly denounced him, is applying for foreign citizenship and weighing whether to watch and wait or leave the country before inauguration. A former U.S. official who signed a notorious October 2020 letter suggesting that emails taken from a laptop, the Hunter Biden thing, could be part of a Russian information operation, is seeking a passport from a European country, uncertain about whether the getaway will prove necessary, but concluding, you don't want to have to scramble. All spoke on the condition of anonymity to avoid undermining their own preparations. Okay, these are the people who signed, remember there was the letter that all the national security experts wrote
and warned us.
Trump is unfit?
The 5-alarm letter.
They have go bags and they're applying for foreign citizenship.
God bless them.
The country.
They're brave patriots. God bless them.
I have no I think we should just read this over and over again for the entire show because it's not. It boggles the mind that we're at this stage of things. To me, I mean, it's just I don't know what these guys are. They're national security professionals. Their job is to keep us safe, and they don't feel safe enough to stay here. So, I don't know. I feel like that's not good. I feel like not great.
Yeah. I wonder if we're going to get a Litvinenko moment where there's a press conference called and we have some high level people, before they flee, coming out and saying who this man really is and what. I don't know. I mean, we still have the current president, I think.
I don't know. I think he has senioritis, I think.
So we still have him, and he could release a lot of information.
The least he can do is release a lot of information.
The least he can do is release a lot of information. I know there's a lot of people calling for the ethics report on Gates. Do you think we're going to see that? I don't know.
That's going to leak like a...
It would have done it already. I feel like...
I don't know. I think they're waiting for it to come out in the whatever. But I would be shocked if we don't see that. It's just too,
I guess because I lived through the 1.0 like everybody else here. And there was one thing that happened that was just so still jars me. And that is, I can't even tell you how many projects on this guy in the because this is when I was still sitting down for projects and people pitching me and trying to hire me as a writer, which they are still, I guess. There were so many projects about Donald and all these people, and because all those, remember the flurry of books that came out at the beginning of the first Trump presidency, and every single one of those books before it was even to print was optioned by a production company and put into development, and they all died. They all the
project, not the people.
The project, it just got shut down like crazy. It was nuts. So I don't know. There's some powerful
don't get me
forces,
wrong,
man.
I don't think it's going to matter, but I do think it's going to get leaked. And speaking of which, our bet that we had, which was, will Trump flee or will he stay and face the consequences? We did not think of the third option, which is, he'll get reelected and go to the White House, and we're going to be the ones in fucking Venezuela. That was not.
That wasn't it. Now the beer is, are we on the list to go? Do we need a go bag?
I don't know.
Nah, we're not.
I don't know.
We're fine.
Yeah.
We're fine. Yeah. Okay. Well, those are some headlines. Those were some headlines.
So you feel caught up now?
I'm caught up. Thank you.
So we were talking today, and you had a point you wanted to make about these people, this type of voter that I call the nihilist voter. So what are you thinking about that?
Yeah, this came out of talking to my husband about someone that we know that is in this sort of, it doesn't really matter, just burn it all down. It's time for a new thing. It's like nothing was working. There's a lane, a big lane of that. It's this, as you say, the nihilistic voter, but it's I feel like it's a pickup of Bernie. It's like in that camp of sentiment, and then there's the camp on the right too. It's in that realm of the horseshoe of left and right, where it's just like, we need a wrecking ball. Fuck it all. We just need a whole new thing. Like it's a whole new world. And I was thinking about that. I was like, this is the new world. Democracy is the new thing. You idiot. What you just, anybody who voted for Trump thinking that's what that's going to be, you just ensured the old world. That's the old world. No NATO, that's the old world. So there's fratricide going on like crazy all throughout Europe. We've been here with the far right extremism and this nativism and all of that. We've seen that the newest of that is from the 1920s. That's the newest of your new world by putting this guy in. This is it. Democracy. If you're trying to stick it to the man, the whole point of democracy is you're the man.
Yeah. We're
the man. You stuck it to yourself. You went like this. Right? You're the man. And by doing that, you installed the man. We didn't have the man. The man wasn't installed. Now the man's in there. Now we have the deep state to the degree that all these national security professionals are fleeing the fucking country because the mafia is in. The big brother is in. We're in a surveillance state. The other thing that's happening, the only thing that's different, right, about this old thing that's about to happen to us, right? This strongman authority, this neo-feudalism serfdom that we're all about to be in. The only thing new about this, the whole new system that everybody thinks they're going to have, a new blah, blah, is that we literally are in a powerful surveillance state that we brought upon ourselves. And the keys of it are all handed over in the hands of our government, which now is controlled by the man.
Yep. Yeah.
How do you get people to get this? I don't know. I don't think that's it's also the other part of it. And then I had someone else kind of wanting to talk to me about, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not here to educate. I guess, there was a lot of us that just all these wonderful experts that you and I have come, some of them we've come to know, many are not even with us anymore. We studied their work. Like we went in deep, and a lot of people watching this show went in deep, just like us, just regular. And then the historians that we've come to know that are in deep to begin with, and they're informing us, right? So all these folks, and including us, like we did that. We did all that work. It's this canary experience, right?
Yeah.
What is it like to
Cassandra.
be the canary? Yeah. What is it like to be the Cassandra? The Cassandra experience now that the thing has happened, and people are, especially if we get to a point, which I'm assuming we will, where people are like, I didn't know that's what I was voting for. That I just I don't have anything for that, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm feeling like I don't have anything for that, nor is that my job. I did that job, and it didn't matter.
It mattered. But have you noticed how the media is now being like, oh, by the way, Trump's going to do these horrible things? There's like a run of these stories about how, oh, no, he's actually going to get this guy to do this horrible thing. Didn't you know that? And, and then they go interview some dumb shit who doesn't know that. And it's like, yeah, they don't know it because you didn't tell them. Fucko. Yeah. Which is kind of the problem. So
that's right.
To your point about all the historical stuff and the neo-feudalism and all this, like we are living through the Pax Americana is one of the great moments. And if you were to do a sweeping thing of history and say, when would I want to live? It would be like now, because we have all this shit. We've got medicine, we have vaccines, we have the internet. I'm sitting in my fucking house. Everyone's watching me, and you're not even here. It gets crazy. All this stuff that we can do. We have civil rights. We have, whatever, right? And we have relative peace and prosperity, especially in Western Europe. That's a historical anomaly. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The last time there was this much peace and not interfighting in Western Europe was in the reign of Antonius Pius in the 2nd century AD, right? So when Rome fell, which was around 450-ish, something like that, mid 5th century, it took 1,000 years to get back to where they were. Just that, that's all. 500 years to get started, but really until the Renaissance, maybe 800. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit. Maybe it's only 800 years to get back.
No, there was world wars and. No.
Right, but I'm talking about knowledge. Like shit just got lost. It got burned.
God.
People didn't know anything. I mean, in Western Europe, in the Islamic world, they knew everything.
Yeah.
But
the brain drain, the coming brain drain is going to be special. It's going to start right there with with the guy with the worm. Everything he's going to be put in charge of, I do believe there'll be a mass exodus. It won't just be the national security professionals who realize, fuck, we're on a list and we're going to be prosecuted. And
some smart country will accept us all. They'll be like,
yeah,
we can use a little boost to the old economy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have it. We're going to lose a lot of knowledge. We're going to lose the ability. We are one of those, this big nation that came up with innovative shit, and it helped us stay ahead. It helps our economy, helps our people, helps our nation. That's all gone. So there's a lot to mourn. I think there's going to be moments of great mourning. And I want to pay attention to that and be tender with that, and go through that process. And then how do we do that without it pulling us into keeping us in a dark space and making us ineffective? And building community is one way around all that.
And we'll get to that in the 5th thing, but
yeah, we're going to be listening to the we'll talk about it later, but also listening to new experts now on all of that.
Yeah. That's why I'm wearing a tie, LB.
Is it? Why are you wearing this tie?
It's a fucking funeral. I don't know. I felt like wearing a tie.
I'm in
I
black.
don't think I've ever worn a tie. Yeah.
Okay, we're here for each other.
I was maybe going to wear this on Sunday, and then I didn't. So, you know, I'm going to wear something new. But
it looks nice.
Also, yeah, thanks. So, okay, I'm going to take the banner down. And, you know, you mentioned before that there was, you know, in Hollywood pressure to kill certain projects, but one project did not get killed. Finally, is going to see the light of day, apparently.
We open to a hellscape, a city, New York, in ruins, rubble, newspapers blowing in the wind, dead bodies. Cut to Moscow, death and devastation. Nothing survives, not a living thing. Now in Washington, complete annihilation. Slowly, we zoom in on a pile of debris. We hear the sound of clawing, scraping. A manhole cover opens. Out pops a man in a black robe. His face is out of focus as we watch him climb out. In his hand are some documents. Close shot on his face, the last human being alive on Earth. It's Merrick Garland, and he is holding the last document to be unsealed. An indictment. I'm ready, he says. This fall, Dilatory Pictures presents End Times Attorney General. Rated R.
Oh, Chunk killing it as usual.
Always.
Killing it. Just absolutely killing it. Yeah, so I made that like 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Right? Originally, and I cut it down and Chunk animated it this time, but it's so sad that it is still relevant. Why is it
still relevant?
It's still relevant.
Because you're Cassandra.
Yeah. Perhaps our guests can explain why it's still relevant. She's the executive director of True North Research and a friend of the 5-8, Lisa Graves.
Lisa Graves!
Welcome back. How are you? Oh, I can't answer that. It's nice to see you.
It's nice to see you. I confess that I was hoping that a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle would emerge from that from that manhole cover, but alas.
Are we sure that he's not? I don't know. Is he?
No, he's not. He's
Yeah.
not a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
Hi. Hi.
Hello.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot.
It has been a lot.
Yeah. Where do you want to start? I mean, we haven't talked to you, obviously, since the election. You want to just go through? I know we were talking a little bit before we came live that you said you're just up and down in the roller, like I think everybody is. So, just talk us through all of that. Your thoughts about the election and anything you want to say about that before we turn to happier thoughts of democracy dying.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is a disaster because for all the reasons that.
Oh, she's frozen.
I blame Merrick Garland.
And did I freeze again? Back? No? Frozen still?
Okay, you're back. You're back.
You're back.
Okay. I mean, it's a disaster for our democracy because we have someone who will be moving these levers of power who has no respect for, the things that make America actually great. Good public schools, an economy that isn't run by a kleptocracy, national security that actually protects us against enemies, foreign and domestic, including protecting against Putin's predatory agenda abroad and for the U.S. And so it is, I think it might actually be an unmitigated disaster. Like, I don't know what the mitigation of the disaster is. I'm pretty sure it's an unmitigated disaster. And it also sort of came as such a shock in part because there was certainly genuine enthusiasm at the rallies for Kamala Harris and Coach Walz. There was a lot of enthusiasm, but clearly some people stayed home. I don't know whether it's due to exhaustion or racism or sexism or some combination of all three. But when you draw the lens back, the reality is that, more than 70 million Americans did not vote for this. 3 million more Americans apparently voted for Trump. Some percentage of them now claim they didn't know he was going to do X or Y, like you said, LB. Like, oh, I didn't realize he was going to do that because like you said, Greg, the coverage was so poor in some ways. And you had major newspapers like USA Today and the Washington Post and LA Times basically kowtowing to Trump beforehand and not actually issuing the statements of their editorial boards that he was fundamentally unfit for the job. You have this, so as we're all dealing with the shock and the horror of this man who committed crimes that I think are well documented. Certainly grand juries felt there was sufficient evidence in multiple instances. You have him coming back in and trying to install his criminal defense lawyers at the Justice Department, like no longer the Justice Department, basically the criminal defense department for Donald Trump.
It's a racket, his protection racket. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Nixon must be like just having massive envy from hell. Like, wow, I did not aim big enough, just firing the independent prosecutor, Archibald Cox. I should have just installed my criminal defense lawyers over there at DOJ. So now we're in sort of trying to find a way through it. And how do you respond to this scenario? I was saying to Greg, like, no one expects the Spanish Inquisition, like in my you don't really see it. But there was one meme that I'll add that I think might tee off the next part of the conversation, which is when my friends posted, there is one thing that's always true about clown cars. It is shocking how many clowns keep coming out. And that like, wait, there's another clown coming out. Oh, wait, that person for that. No, that person, so it is a live, horrifying clown car. Not funny. I only jest in just to try to make
gallows humor. We understand.
It is gallows humor. And I think we need it. Yeah. That was one of the other things that we were kind of talking about earlier today, Lisa, how are we supposed to be, because being outraged and, going through that whole thing it's just not healthy. That's not going to help anybody. Especially yourself, even if you only want to just help yourself, it's just not helpful. Yeah. But we have to bear witness and we have to call it what it is. And I do think gallows humor is a way to go, to just get through it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think, oh yes, go on. You great.
No, I was.
What are you drinking? I want to know what you're drinking. I have root beer, but I'm really envious of what you have over there.
This is a Manhattan.
That's a Manhattan.
Very good one, I have to say.
It
goes with my outfit. It's my Don Drapery outfit, I think.
I thought it was a Manhattan, but I thought you might have switched it up and been like gone for a double, just straight up.
I've done that before, but not this week. Usually I do that when we're in a hurry and I'm like, I don't have time. I'll just have this straight, kind of thing. Yeah. We were talking about some comic thing that we would do, some bit on the show where it'd be like, instead of fuck, marry, kill, it would be like fuck, marry, install into Trump's cabinet. And that would be the three things that we would try to do, And
oh my God. That explains everything. That explains everything, because no one would want to fuck or marry any of these.
Right. So we just have to keep installing them into the cabinet. I think a lot of Fox viewers might feel differently about Tulsi, though. I think that, okay. So you've intimated now that you want to talk about these catastrophically. I mean, it's comedy. It's a reality show. I mean, many people have made this point. It's like The Apprentice of whatever the fuck, or you have these retreads in these positions. So, okay, you've got Matt Gaetz, you've got Tulsi Gabbard, you've got RFK Jr., and you've got this Fox News dude. So, I don't know, rank them maybe, Lisa, in order of horribleness. Like, what do you think? Like, when you started hearing these clowns coming out of the clown car, what was your impression?
Yeah, I don't think I could rank them. They're all like, they're equal. They're sort of equally bad for different reasons. It's sort of like what Dostoevsky, some sort of like the happy families are alike, but the unhappy. But it's the opposite. It's like these individuals are like, if you were to say like, choose the worst person to lead this particular job in the Justice Department or the the Director of National Security, like who would be the worst person who would be like, you'd have to think hard about it, but like you could come up with Tulsi Gabbard, who has really been an apologist for Trump or for Putin, obviously for Trump as well, but for Putin at every turn and for, dictators. I mean, it's genuinely shocking.
Russian television. I'm just going to say, we all know.
Just say it. Yeah.
We all know what she is, right? But literally, I think it was yesterday, right? Russian state TV came out and called her their spy.
Yeah.
Well, but she doesn't work for the Kremlin, really. She works for her cult leader. She's in a fucking cult, okay?
Yeah.
The science of whatever this weirdo guy. I've heard him talk about gay people. The guy is bananas. That's everybody in her circle is in this cult. So
I mean,
I don't know if it's cult leader or Putin. I don't know which one. I don't know.
The occult is a specialty of the Kremlin, so it is. They love it.
I mean, you just have someone who is clearly should not be the director of national intelligence. The DNI job was created after September 11th to provide oversight of the entire intelligence community. That's the intelligence community that to a agency, every single agency expressed concerns in 2016 that Russia was definitively trying to influence the election. That's like all these different agencies, CIA, DHS, internal, the foreign, different foreign bureaus, all of them. And to have
FBI out the whole thing.
Yeah. To have her at the helm of that is basically risking all of our national security secrets. It's like way beyond Trump's bathroom of secrets of documents in the paper form. This is like the keys to the kingdom. She should definitely not ever be director of national intelligence, and Trump wants to install her whether there's a confirmation or not, which is also deeply disturbing. Here's what's going to happen.
None of our allies are, which is the point, right? No one's going to share anything with us again. That we're going to be cut off from our allied intelligence network. We'll probably get plugged into the bad guys and be in there with them. Since they are proclaiming that she's theirs and that Trump is as well. So that puts our lives in real threat. But also just, as you said, it's a keys to the kingdom. It's every single thing that our nation and our intelligence services across all the, many, many agencies, but some of our big ones are, the NSA is our jewel, and everything that we've worked. And I don't know how compromised we ended up, but how much got shared with Putin and Xi and our adversaries, right? The first time around. And certainly he did take a lot, he stole all those documents, and then, so all that was out in the wild, right? So God only knows where that ended up. And how much, we know they were our nuclear secrets, not necessarily the codes, but, things like how we use our nuclear technology. But there's also how we're able to do the job of gathering intelligence, not just the human assets that are out there, but the technology and the science behind it. And maybe things that have been in place, that we've got that put lives in danger, but also put all of our ability to gather intelligence from here on out in particular areas gone, wiped out, as soon as the folks that we've been gathering the intelligence on know how we're doing it and what we're doing. So there's a lot that's just sort of the wrecking ball of this, right? This is how you wreck it. This is how you wreck its intention. And that's what he's doing. It's beyond a kakistocracy, right? Which is just put the most incapable people in there. This is a smash and grab. It's a bust out.
Mob.
It's a bust out. It's a mafia bust out. It really is. So they're breaking everything apart. The pieces that are valuable are out the back door and being given to, the buddies they're in the racket with, or privatized. to make a new realm of oligarchs, or make the people who helped get this motherfucker in even wealthier or more powerful. And then you light the match to it and burn the nation down. So, but right now there's valuable shit. There's valuable stuff at the Department of Justice as well, in this vein as well, that the Attorney General, he will also know.
I mean, the question of, I mean, the NSA, the weapons that it has are trained on, the nation's adversaries, including Russia, which Russia doesn't care for so much. And those weapons of surveillance are very powerful if they're turned, against us. And they also have been used, in cooperation with our allies in the UK and the EU. And you have now an incoming president who wants to destroy NATO because Putin wants to destroy NATO, not because we Americans want to not have allies in Europe that we've had trusted alliances with for 80 some years. And so it's deeply dangerous. And it's not just Tulsi Gabbard. He has said he's going to put one of his last appointees to Director of National Intelligence, John Ratliff, who has different issues than Tulsi does. Tulsi's issues of being, possibly a foreign operative, or certainly aligned as a potential agent of foreign power, are substantial. John Ratliff is someone who, just traffics in conspiracy theories, and he's said to head the CIA. So you have, the Central Intelligence Agency in the hands of a person who is sort of pushing Pizzagate nonsense. Like, what type of mind, what type of intellect do you have if you're, one of the people who bought into that completely ridiculous conspiracy theory? But now he's the person who's at least like on paper now headed to helm the CIA. And then you have Matt Gaetz at the Justice Department, who, I wouldn't hire him to handle a traffic ticket, let alone to handle the Department of Justice. He's seems to be a sexual predator. Someone wrote that one of the only things that anyone in DC agrees on is that they don't want Matt Gaetz near their wife or their daughter, because he's just so predatory. And he's been investigated by the Justice Department, by the FBI, as well as by his congressional colleagues. And yet he gets the sort of get out of jail free card to be Trump's sycophant at the top of the Justice Department, where, his only job would be to do whatever Trump says, not to actually pursue justice. And so, like, at every turn, it's like the worst person. And then we can talk about RFK, but I'll stop there.
We'll talk about RFK later. I'm gonna, I think before we get to gloom, I want to push back on a couple things.
Okay, please.
And again, don't get me wrong. I think things are going to be really fucking awful, but okay. Rick Grinnell was the director of national intelligence for a spell. Yeah. That was during the spell when he retweeted me when I said that he was a traitor, and he said, "Stop calling people Russian assets." And I was like, I didn't call you a Russian asset. What are you trying to tell me, Rick Grinnell? Anyway, he was the director of national intelligence. So that position can either be super powerful because you're at the top of the pyramid, or it can be bullshit PR crap where, like in MASH, where it's like Major Burns doesn't know what the fuck is going on, and the surgeons are doing the stuff, and they're like, whatever, man. Tulsi's going to be, no one's going to tell Tulsi jack shit, okay?
Yeah,
and
that's a great point. Because Grinnell was the guy who, his complaint about January 6th was not the assault on our Capitol, but that poor Trump got booted from Twitter. Like, that was the tragedy. So
listen, I called him Grinder Spy, right? So because he forgot to turn his apps off. So I think he was a little distracted by other things, quite possibly.
Moldova. He's got Moldovan shit going on.
He had the Moldovan shit. I think she's a much, but yes, okay, we're hearing you. And also the incompetence kicks in, right? This sort of like, especially for Gaetz, it's like he just passed the bar and then went to Congress.
I don't know about Gaetz is really smart. If he gets in there, it's not going to be good.
It's a big bureaucracy to run, though.
I know, but he's way smarter than Tulsi.
Yeah, he can smash it up.
you know, I don't know about that. But what was the other positive thing? There was a positive thing I was going to say, but now
Wait,
I
there were
can't
two
remember.
positive things you said.
I
Yeah.
can't remember
Positive
what it
things.
is. We're going to have to live without
Oh
it.
no.
You did that, Rick.
Oh, I
now.
know. No.
Yeah.
This is good. This is good. Lisa, this is for you. Okay. I observed that in the same Washington Post that I've obviously been reading, although I'm not supposed to be because Bezos, whatever, Ed Whelan, of all people, wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post saying, you can't just recess appoint Matt Gaetz. What are you doing? Ed Whelan is basically a political operative PR guy who's very much in league with the Leonard Leo people. So Ed Whelan attacking the Matt Gaetz thing in the fucking Washington Post says to me that there is already a rift, or to use a word that Leonard Leo would approve of, a schism between Team Leo and Team Oligarch. And that's the other thing that we have to remember. It's not incompetence. I mean, although there's plenty of incompetence for sure. Trump is everyone's behind him because they want to get something, right? There's not a monolithic thing that's going on. And the key difference between Trump and Hitler, it's not the size issue. It's that Hitler really believed all the shit. Like, he really ideologically believed the stuff. Trump doesn't give a shit. He just wants to stay out of jail and steal stuff, and and exact revenge on a couple of people. That's all he cares about. He's not out there trying to like do things. So we've got that going for us. So, you know, when you saw that, Lisa, and Ed Whelan, I agree with Ed Whelan. What the fuck is going on, right? So I'm like, first of all, do you think that this is an indication of some kind of schism or just a one-off? And second of all, are you Team Leo or Team Oligarch? Because God damn it, I think I'm fucking Team Leo. At least they believe in the rule of law on some level. Jesus fucking Christ.
I know. It was a shock. I mean, now we're all going to quote Zillow Ed, who was so unmasterful in his efforts to pretend there was an alternative bad guy who attacked.
Did you call him Zillow Ed?
Zillow Ed. Zillow Ed. But, you know, in Zillow Ed's defense,
this was the Kavanaugh thing for people who are like. It was like trying to figure out how maybe it wasn't Christine Blasey Ford got things confused and she wasn't at the same house and he went to Zillow and
But so that was, he, you know, stepped back from his job for a period and now he's back. But in Zillow Ed's defense, he's citing the actual Federalist Papers, you know, that say things like, you know, we need this advice and consent because otherwise you might have people who are ill-suited to these positions getting jobs of power in the cabinet. And so, and the founders were right about that, you know, you need advice and consent because you have to have a check on power. You know, when Trump, you know, takes that oath to, you know, follow the Constitution, like it means nothing because he hasn't read it, doesn't care what's in it. But one of the things that's in it is that the Senate plays a role of advice and consent. And you also had, to your point of, you know, some potential silver lining, you had a situation where just in the last 24 hours, the Senate Republicans bucked Trump and Susan Collins. The woman who's his Wiles, the woman who's
Wiles,
Wiles, who's his, you know, incoming chief of staff, who wanted Rick Scott to be their Senate man to basically do whatever they want, since she helped Rick Scott get his position of power, notwithstanding his 100 claims of taking the fifth in that Medicaid fraud litigation. But, you know, so they bucked him and they didn't choose Rick Scott, the man that Trump wanted. They chose John Thune, who, you know, I haven't been a fan of. But, you know, that was a sign in theory that they're not going to just go along with it. But John Thune would have to basically never recess the Senate for fear of Trump installing whomever he wants. So there is some, you know, hope there that there could be division. And like you said, that there's this notion that like, it's one thing for Trump to be elected and give them all power to kind of pursue their theocratic agenda or their plutocratic agenda. It's another thing to consent to letting people who really have no business in those roles, like Matt Gaetz at the Justice Department, you know, be confirmed. That there's got to be some standard Not just like there's a standard of just baseline willingness to follow the law, but there's also like the question of blackmailability and, someone being, so vulnerable to pressure because they're so corrupt.
They don't care. There's not a single Republican that cares about that because I think they actually almost to the letter are all being blackmailed. But
John Thune went to Moscow on the 4th of July, 2018.
No.
He was one of the 4th of July traitors.
Yeah. Silver lining.
I don't know what he was doing there.
Gone.
Maybe it was fine.
Listen, I think we're better off just really coming to terms with they're all going to capitulate 1,000%. So they might do these motions as their brains are like, wait a minute, is there a spine left in me? And then the brain is going to go, no, there's not. And they're going to go, okay.
I mean, they have proven themselves to be powerless in the face of Trump's demand, basically, across, in general, whether it was the impeachment after January 6th or more. But there are, but there are, I sound ridiculously hopeful, but there are legitimate concerns about the qualifications of someone like Matt Gaetz, who is, certainly is evidence of his sexually predatory behavior. And then there's also RFK Jr. and his really like bizarre background.
That's the
of
fourth
things
topic,
admitted
though,
to.
so we should wait.
We're gonna have you stick around for that topic. I love all of that. I think the other thing is, Gaetz could be a troll, right? Because he needed to have a reason to quit, even though people don't normally do that, but no one seems to remember. It doesn't matter what the Republicans have figured out. I just need a story. Give me a story. It doesn't have to be whatever, but I got to have some story, some narrative that'll work. And because I'll never be questioned about it. I'll just throw it out there and then run away. So he did want to get out of the one way to get rid of this ethics report that was going to come out on him on today was to quit before, and then they have no authority over him and don't have to release it, blah, 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 blah. It could have just been Trump saying, okay, I'll throw your name out there. And also that's a big distraction away from Tulsi Gabbard, right? Who is massive threat and a Putin, according to Putin's people, a Putin spy. So there's all of that. When it comes to Gaetz, it could just be this thing. But in these circumstances, I just want to remind everybody what we know historically with this guy, Donald Sr., is that he then goes ahead and just does it, right? I'm going to go ahead and put him in because he's seeing the reaction, right? And once you put somebody so unbelievably unqualified that everybody hates and nobody wants, and those people who are supposed to stop you and are check on your power, don't check your power, and you just get the guy in, then no one has to be qualified from here on out. So it's also a way to smash a norm. And I know you say it's in the Constitution, but I don't think that matters. It's anything that's in a Constitution that Merrick Garland decided it wasn't worth his time to fucking defend is just a norm now. And we did that to ourselves.
Yeah, look at what they're saying about the immigration raids that they would start at 12:01 on January 20th. They're saying that they are going to do that notwithstanding the 14th Amendment that says that if you're born in the United States, you're a citizen. And so they've been under this assault on so-called birthright citizenship, which is citizenship. And they're basically saying that they will be deporting citizens who were born here because they don't think they should have been born here, and then sort it out later. So like the Constitution is something that we in theory have adhered to, but they, don't seem to have any affinity toward it. And the other part I was going to say about Gaetz is it actually could also be like, not just like a bone to him or this smashing, but it also could be like, I could totally see Trump being like, okay, I've changed my mind, but now we have Laura Trump as the senator from Florida, like that they basically, from Florida, not senator from Florida, but like kind of move her in, get him out from under it, and then put in someone also despicable and unworthy into that role. But I think you're right, Stephanie. The big play from an aggressor is to push it as far as they can, and then once they break that boundary, everything else follows through.
Yeah.
You mentioned the birthright citizenship, and there's a lot of things being floated around. Just to be clear, ending birthright citizenship is a catastrophe. They've done this in countries in Europe, and what happens is it creates an underclass. It creates a second class of non-citizens. All of this shit that they talk about with the immigrants coming and the gang and it's MS, whatever the fuck it is.
Right.
That's what happens when you don't have birthright citizenship. That's just what happens. So getting rid of that is the single most dangerous thing that we can do. Just for people watching who don't, haven't looked into this, it is a catastrophe. I don't think they're going to, spend any time researching this stuff. I think they're just going to, round people up and do whatever. But just wanted to make that clear. We were going to wait. We were going to wait and do the next media, which is an old media, after the fourth thing. But I think since we were talking about him, I think that it's a good time.
Now? We got an extra bonus.
Just to lead us into the fourth segment.
Media.
Just to lead us into the fourth segment. Hey, we have a sponsor, guys.
Have you been caught breaking the law? Are you looking at serious prison time? Are you considering fleeing the country to get a jump on the feds? Don't go to a criminal attorney or to Costa Rica. Go to Congress. Hi, I'm Matt Gaetz, here to tell you about the Vintage 99 Political Consulting Group. Vintage 99 will make sure you get elected. And once you're on Capitol Hill, trust me, the DOJ won't go near you. Whether you failed to register as a foreign agent, lied on your SF-86, violated campaign finance laws, ran afoul of the Hatch Act, illegally penetrated a SCIF, done insider trading of stocks, or conspired with other Republicans to topple the government and install a fascist strongman as president for life, Vintage 99 has you covered. Seriously, guys, did you know that the longest-serving Republican Speaker of the House was a serial pedophile? It's true. And don't even get me started on the skeletons in Jim Jordan's shower. Give Vintage 99 a call today. They accept Euro, crypto, and Venmo. Remember, I'm not just a spokesman for Vintage 99, I'm also a client. And now, back to the show.
Yeah, so we made that a long time ago, and what do you know? But I feel like we're in this loop now. Like it's 2016 all over again, and we just keep repeating the same shit, right? That says some guy on Twitter knows things. No, he doesn't know things. Obama can do no, nothing's gonna happen. We're just in this loop with it, and I can't believe Matt Gaetz. This attorney general basically means there's no more law and there's no more. Yeah. I mean, seriously, we haven't talked about this in a serious way, but like Matt Gaetz being attorney general ends it all. There is then no more rule of law, and we're just free to do whatever the fuck we want at that point because there's no laws. There just aren't any.
Some people are free to do whatever they want.
Yeah, we can do whatever we want because there's no laws federally.
There's also a lot of cases that what Merrick Garland did do and what Joe Biden asked him to do, right? And he did do it. He took the Justice Department and he aimed it towards where police departments and sheriff, like where we had seen real violations of people's, after the Eric, who was he?
Of the George Floyd
guy that. Why can't I?
George Floyd or the guy who
was George Floyd. Yeah.
Eric Garner. Yeah.
Yeah. After that. Right. And just sort of looking at the abuse, right. And bringing cases against. And so I'm just, there's going to be things like that. I can't even imagine the caseload at the Department of Justice, just in lanes like that are going to be thrown out and dismembered. So there's real justice. It's not just the rule of law is gone. There were people were finally getting justice and waiting on it because it's so slow. And even maybe some rulings that happened but there won't be enforcement or follow up or, reform, the necessary reform. So that's all gone. It's just gone.
And that is a really important point about those those investigations into police brutality, police abuse. And there are a number of consent decrees or agreements, settlements with law enforcement agencies for some of those practices that have, resulted in the killing or murder of people. deep in, serious injuries. And one of the things that Project 2025 has in it is to immediately suspend all settlement agreements, all consent decrees in every area, whether it's in police brutality or other civil rights matter, that they would just across the board in it, and specifically that they would end the Flores agreement about the separation of kids from their parents in immigration. So it's a wholesale wreckage that they envision. And I was going to say one thing on a positive note, which seems hard to pivot to, but
no, please positive note.
I really, one of the things I've been thinking about is how exhausting even this past week has been. I feel like I've aged a year in the past week. But I also think like we have another 60 some days before inauguration, almost 70 days before inauguration. And I think we have to take care of ourselves. We have to embrace our family and friends and not let worry, and they're legitimate worries, but not let worry destroy our ability to create joy in this moment, because he's not president yet. He will be president on January 20th at noon, and then we'll have to contend with what that means. And there's preparation that has to happen to protect people's rights before then, as you pointed out, Greg, or that some people are taking on to protect their own lives and liberty. But, we can't, and even when he is president, I think one of the challenges is how not to let him steal any more joy from us than he has already stolen. Amen. We have that's an act of resistance. Be like, I am not going to let this man, steal any more of my joy than is absolutely necessary. Yeah. Part of that is in this next, 5, 6, 7 weeks of actually, really, being with our friends and family, really trying to, embrace each other and buck each other up and rest, because it's going to be really more challenging once he is president than beforehand. And I just think that worry, my saying is, worry is a thief. It's a thief of your joy in the present moment. We have a lot to worry about, but if we focus on all those worries, then we're actually giving him even more power to take away the joy we have of him not being president right now. And then I think it saps us from our ability to have the resolve and the strength to contend with what we're going to need to contend with when he actually does have the mantle, the real power in his hands.
Okay, I love that. Thank you for saying that. It's a perfect sort of segue into this other segment that we're going to have, where we just, it also shores us up and allows us to, I sort of like a brace, get the muscles going that you're going to need for the long journey of this. So this segment is Sick, Broke, Divided. There was a man named Yuri, and I always say it wrong, Bezmenov, in the 1980s, a Kremlin spy and spokesperson who came to the United States, and he gave lectures, and he said, this is what we're going to do to you. This is what we're going to do to you, and this is how we're going to do it. And literally spelled out the moment we're in here. And the sort of 3 pillars of the long vision active measure, sort of like a 5th column move that Russia was planning, Soviet Union at that time was planning against us, was we're going to make you sick, you're going to be broke, and you're going to be divided. We're going to fracture you from within. You're going to do it to yourselves. And I'm even here telling you this, and you're sitting there nodding and going, wow, how fascinating, how interesting. You're going to walk away. You're not going to do anything about it because you don't know what to do about it, because we're going to use your own systems and turn it against you. And it amuses us that we could even come and tell you this, basically, with the context of his tone and some underpinnings. The message was, look at this. I can sit here and tell this to you, and you still won't do a goddamn thing about it. Now, he had a pretext of sort of like, I'm kind of going to be with the good guys now and kind of tell you what's coming for you. But it was a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And then I think he hightailed it back to the Kremlin. So it's some kind of, he was still an operative. And then we got the same thing in again, another thing I cannot say, the Gerasimov doctrine, right, where it was written down. This is how to do it using today's tools, right? and sort of an update from the 1980 proclamation in the mid 80s. And the anti-vax stuff, which is why our intelligence community came out with high confidence and kept trying to tell us all this anti-vax stuff is coming from the Kremlin. It's coming from our foreign adversaries. It's junk. It's garbage. And it's designed to, make people have us be sick. They want us to be sick. So that's why RFK Jr. is going in to make us sick. What he's about to do is, and when you're that sick, when you attack the health of a nation, really attack a nation's health in every way, shape, or form, which is what he's going in to do, all under the guise of like, somehow we're all just going to plug ourselves into, the positive end of the chemtrail, and that somehow, and say some chants and some mantras and have enough turmeric, which I love, and I do, that it's somehow, and just don't eat these sugar cereals and you're all going to be fine. And his whole theory of like, he's coming out now, they're finding him stuff, and he still believes in this and subscribes to this, that, there were none of these serious illnesses until this sort of year in 1980, when the pharmaceutical companies got to do X, Y, and Z, and they're the ones that are making us all sick, as if childhood diabetes, cancer, heart disease, any of these things didn't exist before, let alone his attack on vaccines, which has a recent run. There's an article about what he did in Samoa with an operative there to get people to convince the local people to stop vaccinating their kids because the vaccines are going to cause autism, all this stuff, which,
90 people died.
When you talk to your parents with, and with autism in our families and our children, it's so blindingly offensive that garbage, right? Coming straight out of the Kremlin. We know that's straight out of the Kremlin. But, people are feeling like they have these experiences of, well, my kid went and had a shot and had a fever and woke up autistic. And this is listen to mothers and all that whole thing Jenny McCarthy was doing. It's just so goddamn dangerous. As soon as we're this sick, right? As soon as these diseases are back, and the average lifespan, which was 48 before we had childhood vaccines, not because people were dying early because they ate bad food, but because that's how many fucking babies were dying. Siblings were dying, children were dying, families were ripped apart from these deaths, because in every household, if you had enough children, one of them was going to die or become seriously maimed from these diseases. Right. And so all that grief, all that horror. Nina Burley had a great article she wrote about that this week. I encourage everyone to go read it. Perfect. That pulled down the average mortality rate to 48 years.
Yep.
Because so many babies were dying. That's what he's bringing back. You know what follows that? You're broke. We're broke. I mean, there's all this other garbage with the tariffs, and he's going to wreck shit, and Donald's going to do everything he can to just tank this economy because he bankrupts casinos. He can't. It's a bust out. The point is the bankruptcy. Everybody laughs about that. Oh, he didn't even know how to. That was intentional.
Yeah.
That was intentional. It wasn't like, I didn't know what I was doing running a casino. He was running a money laundering front for organized crime, and eventually they busted it out. That's what happened. And cocaine on the helicopters. I mean, it's crazy what was going on in those casinos. So New Jersey even said, this is too crazy for us. We're fucking New Jersey. Shut this guy down, man. We can't handle this. So that follows the health first, sick first, then broke. When we're all sick and we're broke, what happens to people is they start pointing at one another as if we're not doing that right now. You think this is bad, now it's going to get worse. So not to bring a doom and gloom, because that's all very, very dark, but just to say, somebody had this plan. And I think we have to be vigilant to that as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And try to find the ways maybe where, well, this is what they couldn't plan for, what can we do? I don't know. Anyway, I just wanted to remind everybody of that. about this guy. This guy, Robert Kennedy Jr., is, there was a joke going around Twitter or the Blue Sky. This time around, the Kennedys are assassinating us. And there's a lot to that. I don't know that he would have been a target for foreign influence or certainly anything else if he wasn't carrying that name. And if we didn't somehow put those names up on such a big pedestal that...
Yeah, we'd be in a fucking ditch somewhere. Fucking loser. Anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I looked into a lot of these issues. Looked into a lot of these issues. And, one of a couple of things I would just add to the conversation. One is, when you look at the group that he took over, this anti-vaccination group, he basically used this peddling of conspiracy theories to bankroll a massive salary for himself. I think the last tax filing I had, that he was paying himself $500,000 a year, basically, by fundraising off of fears over, COVID vaccines. And so he's profited from the conspiracies that he's
spread. He's a grifter.
Yeah. He's a fucking grifter.
Yeah. And so that was sort of a shocking figure. Like, that's a big figure for a salary for, a nonprofit of the size of the nonprofit that he leads. And I think people should know that, like, he's made a fortune for himself on spreading this disinformation. But also, a couple things on the vaccine issue. One is, so I worked on the Court of Federal Claims, which is the court that handles vaccine cases in Washington. So, there was a court created so that if someone's child did have an incident immediately after a vaccine, they wouldn't have to prove causation. They would automatically get part of this vaccine injury fund. It's very infrequent. And that's in part because these vaccines are, widely safe. Hundreds of millions of kids in America have been vaccinated without incident, certainly 1 billion worldwide. And the thing about a vaccine, just like the thing about a strawberry or the thing about a peanut, is there's some teeny tiny percentage of people who might have an allergic reaction. And that is, tragic when it happens, whether it's a peanut or it's a shrimp, shellfish allergy. But it's so small, and the health gains of protecting kids from, like you said, the disability of polio, measles, not just, itchy bumps.
Over 100,000 children, died of measles because it's back.
Yeah. I mean, these are permanent injuries that forever harm these children if they don't have access to vaccination. So it's just fundamentally reckless for someone like RFK or anyone else to be spreading disinformation and sowing seeds of doubt about the reality of vaccines and how safe they are. Like, it's like 99.99999%, of the time. And that helps keep everyone safe and helps protect the life of these kids in terms of what they would take. Yeah.
At the heart of the conspiracy for anti-vaxxers is that it's the pharmaceutical industries that are profiting off of this. And that's, they're the boogeyman. And I'm not, listen, they're hardcore. That industry has got a lot of problems, but the thing that industry, they resent are vaccinations, because it's,
they don't make any money on it.
They don't make any money on it. And to attack the FDA and the NIH is to take away all the guardrails against the greed. So that shows you that he's also, and he's not that stupid. I know everyone thinks he's a crazy man or whatever. He's doing this. He knows what he's doing. He's got his grift going. He's smart enough to make $500,000 a year on a tiny little charity. And Donald, just like picking Gates, and they're separating Donald from these picks is really upsetting in terms of the coverage. And this one is another coverage. They just everybody knows Matt Gaetz is a terrible person. He was under investigation for child sex trafficking. We can't have this. Like, well, Donald picked him.
Yep.
Can we talk about the guy that said, I want the guy in Congress accused of child sex trafficking that everybody hates. I want that guy. Yeah. Give me the rapist. That's what Donald's saying. And with RFK Jr., and this RFK Jr. is going to be in charge of mental health in this nation.
Yep.
To be in charge of health and human services, the mental health falls underneath that. This is a man who I don't even want to go in. Everyone should look at his first wife.
How he treated his first wife. Exactly.
Look at what he did with his first wife.
Yep. Terrific.
So
it's horrific.
This is it. Donald is like, give me the most depraved. I want the most depraved person because his depravity.
Yeah. No, and the Kennedy family has spoken out against RFK as unfit, unsuited for any responsibility. But you're right. To try, I used to think about like part of Trump is like his superpower in a way is that he's like a magnet for like this iron filing of the most depraved, most corrupt people for these positions of power, people who want power so much that they would do anything or say anything. It's like a magnet. He activates that, and then he rewards them for their obedience, for their
right. And then when they fuck up, it's like, but nobody's looking at the source. The fish stinks from the head. And what happened with that first term is he successfully divorced himself from that. Just like in the election, he successfully divorced himself as the cause of the Dobbs decision. He that was him. And he would even came out and said, everybody wanted this, so I gave it to you. But when people voted, they voted, no, we don't like that you did that. Or we don't like that, but we're going to keep you. It's like, why would you do that?
Well, that in part goes to your other points, LB, which is just the propaganda universe that we live in now, in part fueled by these Russian bots and this disinformation machine, but also fueled by Fox, which paid nearly $1 billion out in settlement and then continues to propagandize people, and so this propaganda machine and Twitter being taken over by Elon and converted into more of this Trump propaganda machine, like. The fact that despite that, 72 million Americans still said no, but not quite enough. Like we almost prevailed over this propaganda machine, but this time the propaganda machine got the better of us, and we're all in for a whole world of dumpster fire unknown.
Everyone's going to have to see the real pain and suffering that comes from this before. But I just don't know that whether our elections will be there for us in a meaningful way. Again, I do believe, I love that you said that, Lisa. And I just want to say, I think everyone needs to look at the arc of the Russian Federation and when it came to elections, once Putin was installed, and he was installed. And where it is now, and sort of look at what happened with the FSB, which is what basically their FBI, and kind of like you can kind of boil it down to the Department of Justice. That there's a path that happened there. Yeah.
That we're
on. We're on those rails. Yeah.
Yep.
RFK wants to make diphtheria great again. And I encourage everybody who's on the fence about vaccines to Google diphtheria and read about the diphtheria epidemics. The first Olear that came here from Slovakia settled in New York City, and one of those kids died of diphtheria because that's what fucking happened at that time. And if we went back in time and we said to these great grandparents of mine, hey, in the future, you're just going to have a little jab and then no one will ever die of diphtheria again, they would be like, wow, that's the greatest thing ever.
It's a miracle. Yeah.
It's a fucking insane miracle.
Yeah.
And RFK is like, no. Fuck him forever. That's it. That's all I have to say. The single greatest thing about being alive right now is vaccines.
Yeah.
Period. Full stop. There's nothing better than that. I mean, maybe fantasy football, but vaccines definitely in the top two, for sure.
Vaccines are definitely above fantasy football. I'm sorry to tell you.
It depends on how good your team is, Lisa.
It's still precious. Life is still precious.
It is.
And unnecessary suffering, real suffering, especially for our children, babies, is an evil. This is an evil man. And I don't know how we stop him, but our states are going to have to figure out how to push back and protect. And once the states really I think will have to fully isolate themselves from the federal government in order for that to happen, and from the White House. Then maybe it's that we're in that other state. It takes a little bit longer to get there, of what happened when the Soviet Union collapsed, is a balkanization. So we'll see.
I have a good name for it.
What is it?
It's where we are. It's the American Confederation of Eastern States, or just ACES.
ACES.
ACES high, baby. That's us.
ACES high. That's our fantasy.
You want to take Alabama and say, fine. Sorry, Alabama, fuck off. I don't care. I'm not giving you money anymore. It's fine.
ACES.
We're good.
ACES is a nice.
ACES.
We're good. And the immigrants that you want to get rid of, bring them to us. We will take them.
Oh my gosh.
Happy to have them. They can come in and do the jobs.
Please.
They could do the agriculture and all the shit. We'll be fine.
I mean, these Ohioans that allowed their city, like to allow Springfield to be assailed with this nonsense, and then still voted for these people. It's so gross. It's just I mean, and all, like, and the mayor is like, no, and the employers are like, no, like this. It was. I mean, and yet I thought, anyway, maybe I was unduly hopeful given the state of Ohio, but you'd think that would be, if you were in Ohio and you were like, I can't believe you attacked my state with this reckless nonsense. And they got away with it.
Yeah.
There was the one quote.
I got to run though, my friend.
No, you got to run. Okay. We have to let Lisa go.
Lisa, thank you so much for joining us. Lisa Graves, good luck with everything, and come back soon, please.
Thank you for having me on. It's always a joy to talk with you, especially in these dark days. I would be honored to come on anytime, and I'm sorry to have to run to go do some writing tonight. But deeply appreciate you and your wonderful audience. And really, the piece on Sunday, like, your stuff is always great, Greg, but like the piece on Sunday about the Nazi, I mean, it's just so illuminating and horrifying. I hope people subscribe not just to this fabulous Friday night show, but to Prevail and to both of your work.
Thank you, Lisa.
It's phenomenal. Yeah.
Thank you.
Deeply appreciate it.
Thank you, Lisa.
All right, go write your book. We need your book.
Go write your book. We need your words.
It's important. Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Lisa Graves.
She's great.
She is great.
I love that she spent time with us. It's time for announcements.
It is time for announcements.
Do we have any announcements? I don't know.
We just want to say thank you to everybody that came on Sunday. And I mean, we had some people who traveled, and it was wonderful. It was really I can't really see. It's hard for me to watch comments as we're on live, guys. But if there's folks that were there Sunday that are in the comments, just know how lovely it was to see and meet all of you in person. A couple of people I had met in person before, but this was really, really nice. And especially to our New York crew, who's sort of the locals that show up for us. Sandy Bacon showed up, which was amazing. We had Ruth Ben-Ghiat. We had Stephen Beschloss. It was a powerful panel. And I know we broadcast it, and some people I think had a hard time hearing if it was on the TV, but not the computer in the beginning. And but hopefully everyone got to hear a good portion of it. And I think it's still up. Is it still up, Greg?
Oh yeah, people can watch it.
Go back and watch it. Rosanna Arquette.
Rosanna Arquette. Lou New, our friend.
Rosanna Arquette. Lou New.
It was great. It was Nadine Smith was there. They flipped Florida.
Nadine came up. Yeah, they had a trip to the city that they could then stopped in and saw us. So it was wonderful. So hopefully we can do that again. We don't have an announcement for a time now, but I think we were really encouraged, and the venue was really happy to have us. It was a good crowd. So they were like, come back and do this again. And we're like, oh, okay.
We're good.
Maybe when we do, we'll have a better. We didn't do any set decoration. I had completely spaced out.
I had my water bottle that had the 5/8.
Your water bottle was awesome, but maybe we could do a little bit bigger, like get a sheet.
Yeah, we could have
silk screen something and pin it up there, something cool. All right, so that's it.
Yeah, we have the fifth topic is just talking about this. So I don't know, maybe 6 minutes. Maybe set it for 6 because we already talked for 2 minutes.
Yeah, we talked a lot about it, but
you had something. Okay, we were talking about today. You said that you were somewhere and someone came up to you, a smart person, not a dope, no dummy, and said to you, well, I read that Hillbilly Elegy.
I watched the movie.
Didn't read it.
About him. Oh, it's so interesting. His background. And they were into him. Yeah, because this is someone who's not interested in anything but, Donald is one. This is the VP. They're looking into. They decided to watch this thing. And listen, I'm struggling. I've never, this whole arc of the Cassandra arc is freaking me out.
Okay.
So I need you and other people, we're the kind of people who, when someone shows up with a lot of information, we listen. And if someone sounds like they're speaking out wackadoodle stuff, I still listen. You give it space.
Yep.
And then also always felt safe and comfortable to say, well, I know a little bit something about that. And here's the thing I know about, and sharing that, never shy to share what I might know, but always listening, always like, really? Oh, always had people around me that just knew way more than me.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm confronted with, and we all are, what do we do? How do I don't know what to say. I don't have anything. I'm not going to listen to that. It's not a crazy person spouting crazy theories. It's someone, and I've been very blessed that there's no one in my family really that I have to contend with regularly, or in my workplace that I have to contend with regularly, that is all the way gone into, the propaganda. That's its own thing. I'm just talking about people who are just, they don't know. I'm trying to learn the skill set.
You're talking about ignoramuses.
What's the skill set? I think I have to just talk about them in some other way. I think I have to do the whole, get them off topic, talking about this thing my uncle taught me, right? And next thing you know, they walk away and say, wow, how did we end up talking about that? Maybe those skills, I don't know. I don't know what to do. Guys, I don't know what to do.
Oh my God, did you see the finale of Penguin?
I did.
That's an example.
You're giving me an example.
That's an example.
Actually did that too with this person. I was like, well, first I went, no, don't watch. That's all a lie. And then I was like, you can't have that conversation with this person.
I hate it in person when, I'm on this show all the time, right? We're talking about this stuff all the time. In real life, I don't want to fucking talk about, if you come to me, I'll tell you stuff. If you ask me, I will tell you, but I'm not going to offer it. And if you come to me and think that you know more than me and you really fucking don't, I've got no patience. I wrote a fucking book, man. You want to know what I think? There was hours and hours of content on this here YouTube page that people should go subscribe to. Although I suspect many of the people in the comments have already subscribed. And, go read the book. Go listen to go read my fucking, there's so much content, I can't even. That's it. I'm with you.
I can't either. So I want to build, again, I want to build community, but anyway, just so everybody knows, it's a weird spot. And I don't think we're alone in this.
No.
And I don't know what to do when it takes that turn into.
Everybody watching this.
Let me just say, I don't know what to do when it takes that turn into, and I know I said this earlier, but I just want to say it again. Well, we didn't vote for this. This wasn't what I thought. What blah, 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 blah. I don't know what to do.
I think we should have a huge printout of the SMH emoji and just hold it up.
Okay.
I think that's, you didn't know? But seriously though, ignorance is complicity. That's it. It's 3 words. Ignorance is complicity. And make them think about what that means. That's it. That's what I've got.
Okay. Well, it's not like it's a strange way to wrap the show on this topic, but it really is. I really am lost. Like I really don't have I'm not experienced in this. And I think a lot of people are, because they have to like somehow keep their job and just get through the workday, and you're sitting there. And I just don't have that kind of job. I don't, that skill set didn't get, it's not a muscle I've got. I didn't
Consider
develop
yourself
that skill set.
fortunate is really what I have to
I
say.
know. Well, that's why it came up, is because you were in a position, and it's like, I don't know how to do that.
I have to hear dumb shit from people who are like, oh, well, what do you know? Yeah, we know, because we knew. And we told you.
Yeah. So you just sort of go,
because you thought you knew better. And that's just where we're at. So, that's it.
So maybe that's your next book. So maybe this is your next book. How to survive.
How to survive. Listen, this is what we got, because we talked about this too, and I think you wanted to end on this kind of thing. Let me get to the right place. Okay, so like, I think I said this last week, or whatever the show. I've lost all track of time.
Yeah, we've had a lot of shows.
Yeah, what happened when Kamala lost is it knocked me off the hamster wheel. Right, it just knocked us off. I didn't know all of the sort of planning for what outcome might happen. I did not anticipate him winning the popular vote in this. I just didn't. And neither did you, and neither did most people. And that's on me. That's fine. But I didn't anticipate it. So what it happens, I keep thinking about Paradise Lost, right? And, real page turner, Paradise Lost. But what Paradise Lost is about is, the first book of Paradise Lost is that it starts after the great battle in heaven, where Satan and the devils have lost, and they're in the depths of hell in the darkness. So much darkness, it's darkness visible, Milton says, right? And they're just kind of like licking their wounds, and they're, kind of coming out and being like, what the fuck do we do now? And the thing about Paradise Lost is that it's a religious thing. It's disguised that way. But what Paradise Lost is really about, is about democracy versus monarchy.
Tyranny. Yeah.
And the devils are actually the Democrats, right? They're the people who believe in democracy. And this is what's happened. They've smitten us now with this thing that we don't know, right? And we're trying to regroup. And that's how I feel right now, that we're trying to regroup, but we are going to regroup. And I feel like Sunday in New York, we regrouped. We had great people in that room.
Yeah.
The people on stage, the people in the audience, great people. Even the people like that didn't know that the bartenders were like, oh, this is great. It was a great energy thing. And I feel like, continuing that energy, and I think everybody can do this on some level. That's the way forward. We need
good
to
vibes.
Build community. We need to have good vibes. We need to try to stay positive and reject abject defeatism, even though that's difficult. And you can, there's a fine line between being defeatist and being realistic. I understand. I'm not saying everything's going to be okay. It's not. This is going to be fucking hard. And at some point, we're going to assemble until they, break down the right of assembly, because that's coming. And then we're just going to be like, when they shut down Rick's Cafe American in Casablanca, we're just going to meet in the dark, and we're going to meet covertly. We're going to beat this motherfuckers. And what are we going to do?
We're going to get through it.